Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushua, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushua, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushua, Call William La, Adonai Yahweh, Bashem Shamalak Yahushua, Bashem Kakarash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, peace, citation, hope for elect, Hapa Yahshua Malak double dog, that was King David, and to the fusion of faces that not let these heed their nation, but their identity goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the regularly chosen sea line, Shalom. And the title of this video is going to be the biblical law on dealing with a woman during her menstrual period. And this is Leviticus chapter 15, start at verse 19 and then going all the way down to verse 30. Yep, because this is one of the most important laws, as well, because this is dealing with pretty much how you're supposed to deal with a woman, because you see a lot of guys, you will see something called like simping, and then you will have a lot of guys that will pretty much like put women on a pedestal, and they don't have this type of knowledge. And you have some guys that they will hear some shit like this and they will reject it because they feel like, oh, this is back in the Bible times, this doesn't have no meaning. And you're a fucking ultimate simp if you're being taught the understanding and it's like you can't get the understanding, especially this part of the law. And this is one of the most important parts of the law when dealing with a woman, because you wouldn't be going crazy for a woman like that. And the reason why a lot of these fucking bitches, like, well, I don't want to go on a rant, but let me just get the scriptures out. Start at verse 19. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean to the even. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. Exactly. So she's pretty much supposed to sleep on her own bed, have maybe another bed to sleep on or some shit, or something over, like some type of when she sits on something like a chair, she should have like something to like cover it or whatever. So make sure that her infected, like pretty much her vagina or whatever, like obviously she's gonna like wear underwears or something like that, but it's like she has to have like some padding, like tampons and stuff like that, extra things to make sure that blood doesn't go upon anything she sits on, because whatever she sits on is going to be unclean for 7 days, even if you clean it. That's why you see period blood that has like a real heavy nasty stench, like it smells like death, they would say, and it smells like fish as well, it has like a fishy smell. And a lot of these women, they can't even clean themselves right, so how much more basically when in Jacob's trouble, when they go homeless and shit like that, but that's a title for another lesson, but that's a topic for another lesson, talking about that. But for the most part, a lot of the times, like, the Lord did mention that instead of sweet smell, there shall be stink. And when you see these women, some of them don't even know how to clean between their legs right. And it's like, you can't really ask these bitches if they ever, when was the last time they had their period, because you're supposed to have a period like pretty much almost every month, Yeah, that's how women were made to be. And this is the thing, this is why we have multiple, we have conversations, like, this is why we should have multiple women, This is why polygamy is a righteous thing. You feel me? Because it's stuff like this that makes sense. And, you fucking popping your woman during a fucking period is very foul and disgusting. I don't give a fuck what Google says, because I looked that shit up and Google said yes, but the Bible says no. And I'm gonna do another lesson, a separate lesson on that, because that's really fucking demonic. Here it is where the Most High is giving you clean laws, and Esau wanna try to put his thing into it, say, oh, well, those are the laws of the old, now we're doing a new thing. Nah, it's fucking dirty. But let's continue on with this. Kind of got excited, to teach this thing, because Jake still needs to be taught of the law, and they still need other brothers pushing out videos like this so they can find it. Because Esau want to fuck with one brother's channel, you got another brother post videos. And it says, and whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in the water, and shall be unclean until the even. So you're going to be unclean till the evening if basically her blood has contact with your clothes, or anything, you know, any inanimate object, or even a person, you know, is gonna go into that. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon, so basically on a chair, sofa, couch, whatever, shall wash his clothes, and he, and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. Yep, because even is just evening. That's like a short word for evening. And if it be on her bed or anything where she sitteth on, he shall be unclean until the even. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, which is a period, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. And if a man, and if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Exactly. So that's the reason why, like, you know, and then you got a lot of guys that, you know, I mean, they stick with one woman and they feel like, you know, that's the queen of heaven spirit. Like, oh, they're gonna have that one woman for their whole life. Nah, this is why we need multiple women, because when we have multiple women, you know, you don't have to be pretty much like dealing with her on her period. You know, you're gonna give her some time off. Some women even say themselves that they need some time from their man, and well, you're gonna still be loyal to that man, but you know, you're gonna have time off of him in the kingdom. You know, so you know that's how it is. Because a man could have multiple women, and these are one of the main reasons why he needs to have multiple women, because of the period. There's a law dealing with your woman during her menstrual period. You know. And it says, every bed whereon she lieth, all the days of her issues shall be up to her as this bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean as the uncleanness of her separation. So the scripture is kind of repetitive on it. And it says, verse 27, and whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. Exactly. So even if she cleaned herself, even if, like, all right, you don't see no basically no period blood on her, like let's say she just had a period that day, she's still unclean to 7 days. Even if it don't matter if she took whatever type of detox bath afterwards, whatever, however she cleansed herself, you know. And it's like, you will see some people that will sleep with their girl, pop their girl every single day, and it's like, you know, they don't understand these type of things. And it's like, you know, I bet you if you was to mention it to, you know, these average niggas out there, they'll be like, oh, you just never had pussy before. You know, they have demons on them, you know. So don't even bother dealing with niggas that have no understanding. You know, they're just disgusting. They'll put their mouth on any fucking vagina out there. They'll even put their mouth, you know, in these bitches' buttholes. That's how nasty these niggas are. I don't know. Sometimes, like, I've been seeing on some social media posts, it's so disgusting because of the world we live in, the society that we live in. I don't know. Sometimes there's something called photoshopping, but that shit look kind of real, and it looked disgusting. I don't even want to look at it. Where I didn't look at it by choice. It just pretty much popped up. Sometimes you got some things that pop up on social media, and it's like, you know, it's fucking weird. And then there was this picture of this guy, and it looked, you know, obviously they were, you know, Jake's. One was a female, you know, a black, so-called black female, and the other one was a so-called black guy. And it seemed like in that photo, he was pretty much putting his mouth on her vagina, and it had blood on it. That's very fucking disgusting. And this is another thing too, like when they said that basically the guy pretty much will be unclean, right, if the blood touches him. You know, if the blood actually touches him, he's supposed to be unclean for 7 days. And where he sleeps in, you're not supposed to sleep nowhere near him. You know, you're not supposed to be in the couch, sitting on the couch with him or nothing. This is the reason why they had biblical laws back then, because now that's why you will hear of some sicknesses that happened back then, but it was kind of rare. You know, now it's like you hear about it more than ever. You know, you hear of what STDs, STIs, doctors naming more sicknesses, you know, and illnesses that happen from the purpose of having sex, because there's a law in having sex, you know, and when you're supposed to have sex and how you're supposed to have sex. And how come the fucking ISUPK, Sikari, you fucking Israelites like out there that are part of these other camps other than GMS, how come y'all not teaching these things? Y'all not teaching it. Exactly. Y'all not teaching it. Because y'all are fucking stupid. Because I had a conversation with Johan on the phone. He was telling me this. You could listen. You could do whatever you want to your woman. No, you cannot. You know, you fucking idiot. And then, you know, this is a topic for another lesson, saying that if you could date a woman that's pretty much, you know, that just had her period. I mean, in the kingdom, we're going to be able to orchestrate that action because it's already going to be established. It's a law on that. But that's a title for another lesson. That's, you know, that's for another lesson. So I'm gonna finish this. So it says verse 29, and on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering and the other one for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness. Yep. And basically, verse 33 says, and of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that have an issue of the man, and of the woman, and of him that lieth with her that is unclean. Wait. Oh, Salaki, verse 32. This is the law of him that have an issue of him whose seed goeth from him and is defiled therewith. And then, you know, verse 33, I already read that, so kind of messed up on that. Salaki for the order. But yeah, basically, you know, before that I was mentioning about, like, you know, how these Israelites from these other camps other than GMS, they don't teach like these things, and you're supposed to teach it, you know. This is like a very clean law. This is like, the laws are pretty much on not only salubrious to your health, like physically, but also spiritually too. And it's what you do physically that affects your spirit. You know, it's kind of like the information that you read and stuff like that, you will eventually end up acting upon it, you know. And the shit that you do, you eventually end up affecting your mind as well, which your mind is your spirit, you know. And this is the thing, you know, Johanna over here telling you that you could pop your woman in the ass. Common sense will fucking tell you you're not supposed to do any of those type of things. There might not be a law on that specifically, but it's common sense, you know. Why would you want to pop your woman in the same place where where everyone takes a shit? That's foul. Put your nose in that place and you see how filthy that place smells. But, you know, obviously a female's vagina is supposed to not have a dirty scent to it. You know, it's supposed to be clean because she's supposed to take baths, you know. She's supposed to bathe and use like natural oils to rub down there, you know, and using like feminine wipes to clean down there. And you see in the law is pretty much like, this is the reason why you see like the men of old back in the prophets, they wouldn't really be like simping for women because they had knowledge, they had the understanding, you know, of the Bible, you know. And men in the ancient world back then, they didn't really commit adultery like that because for the most part, not only they'll be put to death, it just felt like it, well, it's the law on being put to death for that, yeah, that's why they didn't do it. And plus, it's because is dirty, and they know like if you did that, you're destroying your own soul. You're making yourself filthy. That's why you see these niggas, they all over here fighting over the same bitch, over here trying to deal with their bitch every fucking day. You know, you got niggas that almost act like they be so close to their female, like to their woman, like it's like they worship her, pretty much. Like they have their head all up in her ass. You know, that's how some of these niggas are. Like they so close to their girl, it's like they conjoined twins with her, with them. You know what I mean? They're almost better off being conjoined twins. And it's like you gotta give your girl some time. And it's like, you know, if mostly if you're a Jake, you know, in the kingdom, you're gonna be having multiple women. You're gonna be having so much woman. You shit. If you was a human, if you was like a mortal human having all those women, you wouldn't even be knowing their names, and they're gonna know you more than you know them. The only way you're gonna know them a lot is through spiritual power. Shit, you feel me? And then you know, that's pretty much it on that. Leviticus 20 verse 18, and if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness and shall uncover her nakedness, he hath discovered her fountain, and she hath uncovered the fountain of her blood, which is her period, right? And you know, the scriptures also say if she have a sickness like a STD, STI, you know, and most likely she have that because why? Dealing with multiple men, right? Getting popped by every Pookie, Ray Ray, Tyrone, or Tom, Dick, and Harry, and she ended up having like what, multiple guys basically running through her. She getting trains ran on her, and that bitch end up like looking like a fucking used up train track, or you know, a used up NASCAR racetrack. Yeah, over time. And it's like, you know, she ended up having those spirits of those same guys that she dealt with, that, you know, that got dealt, that pretty much put it inside her, that fucked her. And then now she's filthy, and for the most part she may even have a STD or STI, you know. And it says and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. Exactly, because they're gonna spread that same sickness, you know. The Bible wasn't you know, they didn't basically they weren't playing with these things, you know, back then. And if anything, people back then were more sanitary than they are now. Because when you have a fucking nigga that's in rulership like Esau, the nigga above all niggas, the most vilest base man of the earth, of course he's gonna allow these things to happen because he's a fucking demon, you know. And out of all spirits, demons are considered as unclean spirits, so of course they're gonna like filth and all that other shit, you know. That's why when you see when they possess a person, why that person end up being dirty, why that person end up, you know, doing crazy shit, like, you know, shit that they would never do if they were in their right state of mind. You know, why you think you had that guy in the where Yasharahla had to pretty much exorcise? Why you think that guy that claimed he had legions of demons on him? Yeah, he had thousands of them, and then he was by the cemetery, you know, in the tombs, you know. That's what he was, and no man could pretty much tame him. That was filthy to be in the cemetery, because that's like a land of like pretty much where all people are dead, you know. So yeah, like I said, that's another topic for another lesson, but that was just an example of you know, of filth and shit like that. And basically, you having STDs and shit like that, you shouldn't be around anybody. You should quarantine away from people that are affected with STDs or STIs, you know. And it's like these women, they scriptures also said the land is polluted when they get divorced by, you know, one man. How much more multiple men, you know. And it's like, what, you can't ask these bitches if they when was the last time they had the period, because they would look at you like, oh, you disrespectful or some shit. And it's like, that's why I said I don't really go crazy for women, and that's the reason why I only deal with a very few people, because you know why? For the most part, niggas will like be like, oh, you don't get that much pussy or whatever. I mean, I've had sex before, but it's just that, like, I may not have it as much as every other person, but because it's like, knowing these things, you just gotta be careful. And it's like, you know, I don't see myself dealing with women like as girlfriends and shit like that. I'd rather keep it as friends with benefits type of thing. But and another thing I was about to say, and oh yeah, so when it's coming about like using like condoms and stuff like that, that's pretty much like something I would highly suggest, because just using a condom, and just even if you're dealing with an escort, there's nothing wrong with dealing with a female escort, like a pretty much a prostitute or whatever. Just do your thing, wear a condom, and you meet them before you pay them. Don't pay them and then meet them, because like I said, they could run a scam on you or whatever. But you just pretty much do your thing, do your little service with them, and then after, get a hotel, do your service with them, and after that it's whatever. And just make sure you use a condom. Yeah, because they say that gives you a higher chance to protect yourself against any STDs or STIs. And obviously when you're dealing with a prostitute, she may have a chance of spreading an infection with you, and because the Most High know how Jake get down, but we in the curses. So like right now, and we're just being slowly taken out of the curses, little by little. So, but there's still laws on how to deal with women, and you got to do it to the best of your ability. That's why when you have this knowledge, you don't end up acting like people in this world. And then you realize, like, shit, you end up like, after all the shit that you've been dealing with a woman and the games they fucking play, that shit make you pissed off. And it's like, you don't end up dealing with, you don't end up like treating women as you once did, when you was in the world. You end up being different when you have the knowledge and understanding, so that's how it is. And women, they don't respect the guy that pretty much want to put his face down and kiss her shoes, or a guy that pretty much is like a fucking simp, someone who's willing to put his head down, to lay down and be like a doormat. Nah, she's not gonna respect a guy like that. She's gonna look at you like she expect you to do everything for her, while she getting popped by a whole nother dude. Yep. And even on her period too sometimes, or the day that she had it, or and she could barely even clean herself right. But yeah, I hope I made the lesson edifying. And let's give all glory, praises, honor to Nawi Al Bashim Shamalaki Al Shabashim Kakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone. Peace, citation, and the whole for that. Ya Bashim Al Shai, Shalak Rayam, Arawam Yam, Wa Goayam, Wa Ababa Shalom.